Consumer prices increased 6.8% over last year, one of the highest numbers we've seen since 1982. We've seen it all around it. You see it in the grocery store. You see it when you go to buy things. Inflation is here. So what does that mean for your portfolio? One thing that impacts it quite heavily is the federal funds rate, which is expected to increase as much as 3 times this year. So what do you need to do to be ready, your portfolio as well as your income, to be ready for a coming rise in interest rates? Today we're going to talk about 3 things you can do to be ready. The first thing you need to do is review your investments. With the rise in interest rates, certain sectors and certain companies get impacted more than others. And so selecting the right investments in a rising interest rate environment is critical. Depending on your risk tolerance, there are areas where you may be able to go that can take advantage of rising interest rates and avoid areas that are potentially negatively impacted because of interest rate. For example, if a company is heavily reliant on debt, they need to borrow a lot of money to continue to grow, and those interest rate costs go up, well, their cost of doing business increases, which can have an adverse impact on their stock prices. So looking for companies that are not interest rate dependent can be a great way to go. The second thing you want to do is analyze your personal debts. So this is something like your mortgage or car payments. All these have an interest rate associated with them, and we've been at historically low interest rates, but they've started to rise. So if you're subject to rising interest rates, such as you've selected a loan with a floating interest rate, meaning it changes over time, it will start to increase. So potentially refinancing a flexible interest rate into a fixed interest rate could be a good thing to do. With each one of these, there are many trade-offs about which could be better in your situation. But looking at your personal overall debt liabilities is a great thing to do to take advantage of low interest rates while they're around. The third thing you want to consider is your personal bond portfolio. Most of the time, this is where you're getting your regular income if you're in retirement. And so structuring your bond portfolio correctly is critical during rising interest rates. Historically, you've been able to buy long duration bonds that pay a fixed interest rate and hold on to them, for example, over 30 years. Well, this works when interest rates are falling, but when interest rates are increasing, it becomes more difficult. One strategy you can consider is what's considered a bond ladder. You own some short, intermediate, and long-term bonds. And what this allows you to do is that as they mature, it allows you to step up and buy at the new interest rate, so you don't have your money tied up as long as if it's one, say, 30-year interest, one 30-year bond. So finding the right investments in your bond portfolio is critical, not only to preserve your income, but also to take advantage of the rising interest rates. So you can think of it as kind of the opposite as your personal debts. Personally, you want to lock in low rates because then it sets your payments as low as possible. But on the other side is, once you're on the debt side, you become the lender. And so taking advantage of rising interest rates, you want to have a floating or variable interest rate. Finding the right situation for your bond portfolio is essential to preserve your income and also take advantage of rising interest rates. With rising interest rates, we often get stuck at looking in the short term. And a good financial plan helps balance the short term and the long term, allowing you to make decisions that will be beneficial today, but also beneficial in the future. Now's a good time to review your financial plan as interest rates are expected to rise. So if you have specific questions about your unique situation, feel free to reach out. You can email me, Garrett@ascendinvestment.com. Talk soon.